this is the most expensive bourbon I've ever tried. Hey everyone, welcome to Bourbon Bites, whiskey reviews with a gaming twist. I'm Clifton, and today we are trying Barrel's new Gold Label bourbon. As you saw in the intro, this is the most expensive bourbon I've ever tried on this channel and in real life as well. Not considering like secondary prices, but this one has a $500 MSRP. Now I've actually seen this locally for $450, so you can maybe find it a little bit cheaper depending on where you are. But Gold Label is a blend of 16 and 17-year-old bourbons that have been picked for 4 unique characteristics. So for this release, they targeted cherry forward barrels, oak forward barrels, high proof, high complexity barrels, and barrels with a milk chocolate note. They then take some of those and finish them in a new toasted oak barrel. So all of these aspects sound like a really fantastic bourbon, and I do want to say a huge thank you to Barrel who sent me a sample to review today. So this one is 113.54 proof, and it's been distilled in Indiana, Kentucky, and Tennessee. So age-wise, this is also one of the oldest bourbons I've ever tried, with the exception of Orphan Barrel and a couple of others that I've done on the channel, but 16 years minimum in the barrel. And you can definitely tell that on the color. This is a very dark whiskey. Let's go ahead and give it a nose. Oh man, the first thing that's jumping out of the glass is that older oak, and it's a little bit different than I've seen that expressed previously. It actually reminds me a lot of an Orphan Barrel release that I've had. It's a bit different from like a older Knob Creek, which is one of my favorite bourbons. This is more of like a dry oak versus like a very like saturated, sweet, rich oak. This one's more of like a vintage style note. It kind of reminds me of like opening an old book or going to like an old library. It has a little bit of that, like I said, vintage quality, but also tobacco, maybe a bit of leather. Just you can tell just based on the nose alone that this is a very, very well-aged bourbon. There's a little bit of sweetness, but with this being so high proof, the big thing to me is the oak. So I think I'm gonna have to give this a taste to find out where those cherry forward barrels are. So here's to the most expensive bourbon I've tried on this channel. Cheers. Wow. The first thing is that is bursting with flavor. There's so much going on. I love that this is high proof. A lot of times when you have an older whiskey that's, you know, this old, they usually it's either naturally a lower cask strength or they proof it down a bit. This though, like I said, it comes in at 113.54 proof. This thing drinks like a flavor bomb. I feel like I can tell that this whiskey has been waiting a really long time to be drank. It has so much depth and richness that it takes a second sip to really uncover what this is giving me. So let's try it again. I want to say that this whiskey is super rich, super creamy, and super just decadent in kind of like a desserty kind of way. There's a bit of a toffee, kind of like a praline kind of note. There's some nuttiness. There's definitely some chocolatiness. I definitely get that on this, especially the finish. I mean, the finish is like a pure Reese's cup, that nutty peanut butter mixed with a milk chocolate note. This just finishes and just keeps going and keeps going. It's not often we see high proof combined with high age, so seeing it done well in this whiskey gets me really excited. Like I said, it's Indiana, Kentucky, and Tennessee, so the question is, you know, can you tell there's Tennessee whiskey in it? I would say yes, but not in an off-putting way. You can definitely tell there's a little bit of that Tennessee whiskey, I call it minerality, but it's not overpowering, and honestly, to me it just has that like kind of similar mouthfeel, and it kind of rests on the palate the same way, but it doesn't have an off-putting taste. And then placing like the Kentucky or Indiana, I honestly can't pull out a specific, you know, guess as to where the majority of this whiskey's from. It's just an overall solid bourbon. Not just that, but like, I'll be real, one of the best bourbons I've ever tried, which I would hope you would expect from a $500 whiskey. So that's where the real question comes in, you know, is it worth $500? Quality wise, I mean, this is a fantastic whiskey, one of the best things I've ever tried. So yeah, I think it is worth $500. Now, worth is a very personal decision. Would I personally pay $500 for this? No, because I don't have that kind of money. But do I see that there is a market for this? Absolutely. And are you better off buying this than paying secondary for some other whiskeys that may not be as old or high proof? Absolutely. This is an absolute must buy as long as $500, you know, doesn't break the bank. If you're like me and you're like $500, what else could I get for that? You know, how many bottles can I get for that? Then yeah, of course, skip it. But if, you know, you got a raise, you are celebrating a big birthday, this is absolutely worth the price. They've done a fantastic job blending it, not necessarily making it over oaked, because that oakiness really does blend well with that nuttiness on the palate. And again, I'm so thankful to Barrel for sharing this sample with me. Like I said, I mean, 100% honest, one of the best whiskeys I've tried in my life. So, quote me on that. So thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed this, make sure to hit the thumbs up button down below and subscribe if you want to come back for more whiskey reviews. Also check out my Bourbon Bites podcast, new episodes every Friday, and Twitch for my gaming streams. But until next time, this has been Bourbon Bites. Cheers, and I'll see you next video. I don't want to finish it. I just want to cherish this forever. Maybe I should buy a bottle. Become a patron at patreon.com/bourbonbites. Then maybe. Otherwise, yeah, I will just enjoy this bottle on special occasions.